Good morning. It's Thursday, January 20th, and the Trump family has been in the headlines the last day or so, and I read a couple of them that I'd like to tell you about this morning. So the first one deals with a possible feud between Ron DeSantis, the Florida governor, and who was once upon a time a staunch supporter of President Trump, and President Trump himself. So this is what appeared to happen. Ron DeSantis went on a top political podcast. You know what I think about podcasts. And he panned the COVID lockdowns that the former President Donald Trump encouraged early in the coronavirus. And we know the confusion that was going on at the beginning of the pandemic. And Trump couldn't make up his mind. And so in any event, the reason that I think DeSantis attacked Trump at that point was because Trump had called all of the politicians who refused to reveal their vaccine status as gutless. And I guess that was aimed directly at DeSantis because DeSantis has never been willing to tell anybody whether or not he's been vaccinated. So that's the battlefield that is set between DeSantis and Trump, and it's probably over the 2024 election. Meanwhile, in the background, we have the most evil man in government, Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, who is in a pitched battle with ex-president, over the Republican Party in its present state. Mitch McConnell is very upset about the future of the Republican Party in political races all over the country. So does McConnell see what many of us see, become a divisive force? Or is he just doesn't like the fact that these country are acolytes? Who knows? Anyhow, they pointed to this podcast because DeSantis is getting a lot of attention, and Trump obviously wants that attention all to himself. And let's not forget that McConnell views himself as the leader of the party. Trump is an ex-president. And after he lost the election, McConnell told him to stop lying about the results, right? Stop lying about the loss. And Trump has repeatedly called McConnell an old crow and a fake Republican. So right at the top, there's a schism. Anyhow, that's all I want to talk about, that particular incident, and we'll move on to something else. The January 6th Commission, which I feel has been moving like a snail, has subpoenaed and obtained the phone records associated with Donald Trump's son, Eric, and his fiancée, Kimberly Guilford. This is the first time that a member of Trump's family had been subpoenaed. And they got the documents. There was no delay. There was no issue to the Supreme Court or another court to stop this, that this was illegal or something. They got the records. And the records show incoming and outgoing calls. And the calls, the date, the time, the length of each call. The records also show lots of text messages, but not the substance of those text messages, not the content. Now, this information can be critical as an investigative tool in piecing together a roadmap of who was communicating before, during, and after January 6th. So it's a step in the right direction. It looks like the committee has spent all this time getting their ducks in, and now they're moving at, I don't want to call it warp speed, that would be ridiculous. They're moving at a faster pace, and they've got their things lined up, so I feel confident that at some point in time they're going to be able to move. much closer to the... We know the truth, but they'll have the evidence to, hopefully. And so we can see the noose tightening, as they say, in the old Western movie. And the third thing, in addition to what the January 6th Commission is doing and what Mitch McConnell and Ron DeSantis are doing, we have the New York Attorney General, Letitia James, and she's doing some things too. And she has said they need testimony from the former President Trump and two of his adult children, Donald Trump Jr. and Ivanka Trump. Now, this subpoena that Attorney General James wants is information about the Trump organization. This really has nothing with January 6th. This has to do with the practices of the Trump organ. And this has been under investigation for a long time. And it deals with fraud. That's the only word. That's a tough word, but that's the word I have to use. It's fraud. It deals with manipulations of the value of his properties in order to gain. You undervalue in order to avoid taxes. Then you raise the value of the property in order to get loans or some other funding. That's exactly what Letitia James is looking for. She's trying to find out how Donald Trump manipulated the value of his properties so that he could get money from banks and other lending options. And he has done this apparently for a long, long time. And I don't want to say that he's the only entrepreneur that has pulled this stuff. I'm sure that there were landlords in the Bronx that did the same thing to get mortgages on their 2-family or 5-family or 10-unit houses. But this is massive. This is massive because of property Donald, his family, own and operate. So compared to a Bronx landlord, Donald Trump is a monster, and his family is monster in the real estate business. And I don't even consider that if you're a real estate owner and businessman, that you're really a businessman, like running a company. But in any event, that's my own opinion, and you could take it for what it's worth. Now, the object of this gathering of this information, zeroing in on miscategorized assets, misstatements about the processes that Trump and his associates used to create the valuations, and even the size of the Trump Tower penthouse, right? So that's what Letitia James is trying to figure out. Necessarily that Donald himself did it, but who? Who in the organization did these things? And if they did it, what was Donald's role in this? Did he have a finger in the pie, or did he just let everybody run these projects on their own? And knowing the way that Donald Trump ran the presidency and the way he operates, I am sure that he had his finger in all of these pies. But it's up to Letitia James to get this information and figure out what to do. So there they are, still in the news, out of office, still in the news, and it's not good news. So that's it for today, and I'll see you in the morning. Bye.